Kính thưa quý vị, chiều hôm nay là thứ Sáu ngày 8 tây tháng 5. Chúng tôi được dịp đến với quý vị một lần nữa. Cảm ơn quý vị đã cùng nhau đi với chúng tôi trong tiến trình suốt trên một năm qua hệ thống social media, mạng xã hội, qua đài truyền hình Việt Nam một. Cho nên chúng ta khi ngồi xuống đây, chúng ta luôn luôn làm việc trong tinh thần nhớ lại cái công ơn của anh Nguyễn Xuân Nam, là người đã quá cố và đã từ lìa chúng ta trong khoảng chừng 6 tháng qua, vào cuối tháng 12 năm 2025. So we gather together today, and on May 8th of 2026, we would like to come with the community in terms of weekly opportunity to update with you information about the community strength, focusing on education. And today we don't have Miss Karen Martinez with us today because of all the commitment, and she is not able to be here with us today. So we don't have Karen Martinez with us today. She sent us her appreciation for following our program. And we have the honor of speaking with our CEO of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Dennis King, and of course, Mr. Hồng Cao. He is Viet Museum Director also, and former engineer with the city of Santa Clara. And we are here together to come with you on this topic. Today we want to focus more on the topic that relates to the election. As you know, many of us have received the absentee ballots in the mail, and we can vote anytime, I think between now and until the election day, which is June the 2nd. That's the last day to vote, and those who have not registered to vote yet, then they should register as soon as possible, and so that you can participate in the voting. So let's talk about that, if we can.
Probably a very good reminder that we might suggest to our friends that are listening in is that if they are registered voters, or if they believe that they're registered, but they have not received their ballot in the mail this past week, then it's very important to check with the registrar's office. There might have been something wrong on the address. It could be any one of a number of things, but you should have already have received your ballots.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important to remind them.
Tôi cũng muốn dịch lại chút xíu là anh Sam có nói là bây giờ sẵn trong cái mùa bầu cử này đó, thì chắc chúng ta đã biết là có thể là nếu mà chúng ta hoặc là cái ngày đó mình đi tới mình bầu, hoặc là mình nhận được cái ballot, là cái phiếu bầu cử nó gửi tới nhà, thì anh có nhắc nhở là chúng ta phải làm sao chúng ta bầu xong rồi chúng ta gửi cho đúng hạn. Và tôi cũng xin nãy anh Sam nói là cho tới cái ngày đó. Thực sự ra đó, nếu mình gửi bằng mail là mình phải trước đó, chứ không phải đúng ngày được nữa. Trước đó, hoặc là nếu mà đúng ngày là mình phải đem cái đó tới cái phòng phiếu mình bỏ ở trong đó. Thì ông Dennis King cũng có nhắc về vấn đề đó là mọi người thì chắc có đã nhận được cái phiếu bầu rồi. Nếu mà mình không nhận được thì mình phải liên lạc với lại cái nó kêu cái văn phòng bầu cử của county đó, để mình nói, để mình khiếu nại, hoặc là mình coi tại sao nó không gửi tới cho mình.
Yeah. And the county's registrar office is located on 1555 1555
Burger.
1555 Burger Road, something like that. San Jose, California. So 1555 Burger Road, and the Burger spells Berger. Is that Berger or Berg?
No ham.
Burger. No ham in that burger.
No.
Not burger, B-U, B-E.
Yes.
But it is pronounced burger or
burger, yes.
Burger, not burger.
Yes.
Okay, so that's very good.
Yes.
Good to have an English native here. And certainly this is a bilingual program. The reason is that we figure that many of us do speak English. but not all of us do speak Vietnamese, especially the people of Vietnamese descent who were born in the United States since 1975. They are now 51 years old, and they have never had an opportunity to go to a Vietnamese speaking school and live in a Vietnamese speaking environment. And therefore, their first language here is English, such as my children who are in their 20s, and some of our children who are in their 50s. Please remember, they do not speak in Vietnamese as well as English, and that's why our bilingual show. This is a trilingual show, which includes Spanish also, but because Miss Karen Martinez is not able to be here today, so we will be just bilingual today. Is that correct?
May I ask you before you can start the program? I have a question, but can you say something about what generally what the election, why we have the June 2nd, and the next one will be November?
Yes.
And can I explain a little bit about it?
So let me mention the broader picture for me personally. So the first big campaign I was involved in is I headed a movement here in California and then teamed up with other like-minded individuals across the country to change the Constitution of the United States. And that was to lower the voting age from 21 to 18. So for most of this country's history, the prerequisite to be able to vote is that you had to be 21 years of age. Many people thought that that was unfair for a number of reasons. People had to pay their taxes. Many people started their families at 18. So they thought that as an entry point into citizenship, it should start at 18. Some associated with Army or being old enough to fight, old enough to vote, was kind of a classic argument. But there are many other parts to that. So that was my first entrance into understanding politics. And it really raised large questions in my mind in terms of, well, what is voting all about? How do we do that in a manner that is fair? What is a democracy? And when I recognize democracy is almost, it's not a final statement like hot or cold, but it's similar to hot, cold, in that hot is defined as hot by degree, or by degree it's cold. Democracy is by a degree. So in the United States of America is not a pure and true democracy, that there are filters. It takes graduated steps. We're getting ready to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the writing of the Constitution of the United States. It's a memorable occasion. It's probably good to know also that that is not the first Constitution. That's actually the second Constitution. So there was an Articles of Confederation, which basically said each state was its own power and the federal government was kind of a broker of the states. What they recognized is that that didn't work out very well because states had to cooperate with one another. And so in terms of doing that, that set the stage through conflict to set the stage to do, after the revolution, the second Constitution, and that is the one that we're operating under now. For me, on a personal basis, through that campaign, my experience in student government, I learned a lot about the language of democracy, the process of democratic decision-making. We often call that in local government parliamentary procedure, or the use of a process of groups of people and how groups make decisions. And in a very odd sort of way, that became a chapter in my life to this very day. So for the last 19 years, as an example, I have the honor of being the state parliamentarian for the California Hispanic Chambers of Commerce. And in that position, I help facilitate decision-making for ethnic chambers, other organizations, but particularly for our statewide association. And I've learned a lot of lessons about democracy and the value that it has in terms of generating peace, about making decisions, about buying in. And one of the first decisions that a group has to say, or any organization that believes that it runs democratically, one of the first decisions is to say, who's in? Who's a member? Or conversely, who's not a member? And what is a benefit for being a member as compared to not being a member? It's amazing when they talk about Border Patrol to this day, or they talk about the difference between rights for citizens and non-citizens. For many years, it's been blurred. Under this administration, it's much sharper in terms of there are certain rights that are essentially understood to be benefits because they're citizens that are denied to non-citizens. So we take it for granted in this country that we understand these expectations and these rules as they apply. But for most of our life, that's really been blurred. People learn about democracy in high school as a history lesson, but not as a lesson to practice, not to practice their life. And so one of the issues that's very prevalent today, as an example, this administration had said that certain benefits of citizenship that we have taken for granted that impact the business community deals with the Small Business Administration. And the SBA is there to help people get access to information and resources, especially loans. And that's going to be helpful to people in terms of being able to take care of their families by establishing their small businesses. In this administration, those rights are only for citizens. You have to be a U.S. citizen in order to be able to qualify, in order to get a loan backed by the Small Business Administration, which is something brand new for the SBA. And while that's controversial, it does serve as a reminder that there are differences between citizens and non-citizens. And that has a significant impact on our communities, not only throughout the country, but right here in Santa Clara County. I'm bringing that up because it's important sometimes to pause. And we're coming up with that opportunity on July the 4th, because on July the 4th, this country celebrates its birthday of being an independent nation, independent from Great Britain, and independent from the foreign ties that was a cause of great fear of our founding fathers. It's also a point, though, to recognize that while they were brilliant in coming up with a system of checks and balances, we seem to have forgotten that in this administration. And it's good to remind ourselves that we work best as a democracy with those checks and balances in place and not being out of whack so that one of our three branches of government doesn't supersede the other. Because when our founding fathers created this country, each arm, the executive, the legislative, and judicial, were equal arms. And from time to time, that shifts. So as a nation, we need to kind of go back to that. But we also recognize the limitations of democracy. It doesn't solve all problems. It certainly brings people together, and collectively decisions are usually better, but not always. And so we need to understand what is that process as a community in terms of making decisions. So answering your question a little bit more directly, what we've decided is that states have certain rights in terms of who are their leaders, and they do follow federal guidelines, but they also have local guidelines, and they're not all the same. And especially when it comes time to electing officers of the state. So while we will be electing our governor in California, many of the other states, in fact, probably a majority of the other states, are not doing that this year. They'll be doing it at different times. And so that's kind of the area of both joy that we can have local determination of who leads us, but it's also confusing for people, especially for people who come from another land with a different understanding about governance, and they realize, no, we're not looking for a king to make decisions. We also need to participate. And the power of the nation is when we do participate. And where we fall short on that is if we find excuses like we're going to be too busy on June the 2nd, and so we don't vote. And the efforts of our leaders to say, well, if you can't vote on June 2nd, why don't you vote on June the 1st? Or how about today's May 8th? Why don't you vote today? All you have to do is fill out this paperwork, sign it, follow the directions, put it in the mailbox, and you voted. You don't have to worry about whether you're working. So people here in California want to facilitate the voting. They value the voting of the citizens, and they want people to participate. It's again a question of degree. A number of other states say, oh no, you can't vote by mail, you've got to be there in person. Well, these days that's a lot more difficult.
Actually, the question I asked you.
I'm sorry for getting carried away.
General,
Yes.
But you explain very valuable, what your opinion about, the value of, the people, they have citizenship or they have the right to vote, and then he says very good. But I will come back with you about the question I want to ask you. I want to translate a little bit to the audience. Tôi hỏi ông King là vì tôi muốn hỏi là vì cái tại sao cái bầu cử này mình có cái ngày 6 tháng 2 và tháng 11 mình lại có cái nữa. Thì giống như mình biết là ở đây hệ thống bầu cử ở đây mình có cái primary rồi có cái general election nữa. Nhưng mà cái chuyện đó không sao. Ông giải thích một cách cái giá trị của một cái sự bầu cử với lại cái quyền đi bầu cử đó thì nó cũng rất là lý thú, mà tôi sẽ trở lại trong cái vấn đề đó. Tuy nhiên ông muốn nói nhấn mạnh đây là cái sự mà cái quyền mà cùng cái dân chủ là nó đã quy định ở trong hiến pháp những cái quyền của những cái người dân được như thế nào, thì cái bầu cử đó là một cái quyền của hiến định cho ra đó. Thì ông nói rằng cũng giống như là cái nhiệt độ thì nó có nóng có lạnh, thì cái vấn đề mà cái quyền tự do dân chủ đó nó cũng có một cái level của nó. Thì ông cũng có nói những cái vấn đề mà những cái về trong cái quá khứ, chẳng hạn như ông nói đặt trên những vấn đề trong cái vấn đề small business của ông đó, thì trước đây thì nó không có đòi hỏi là cái người những cái người mà tới mà xin những cái trợ giúp trong cái business nhỏ đó thì phải là có cái gọi là cái citizenship, tức là cái quyền công dân. Bây giờ là nó bắt buộc cái đó. Thì ông cũng có nói là có nhiều cái đó mà nó sẽ đưa ra ngoài để cho mọi người phải có những cái định đoạt, có những cái người phải quyết định về cái hướng đi như thế nào để tạo ra cũng để cho mình tạo được một cái vấn đề mà ở trong cái chính quyền đó nó kêu check balance, tức là cân đối giữa những cái quyền này, quyền hành pháp, quyền tư pháp, vân vân. Thì trở lại đó, ông có nói là vấn đề là chúng ta đó là trong cái vấn đề bầu cử này thì cái quyền của người dân đó là một việc rất là quan trọng. Rồi tôi cũng sẽ đặt lại vấn đề của ông là như chúng ta đã biết là cái ngày 2 tháng 6 này đó là chúng ta có một cái cuộc bầu cử mà của ở tại cái tiểu bang này. Thì hồi nãy ông cũng có nói là cái vấn đề mà bầu cử đó, mỗi cái tiểu bang ở trên đất nước Mỹ này nó cũng khác nhau. Có điều khi ở đây chúng ta bầu nhưng mà tiểu bang khác họ không có bầu. Đó là cái chế độ, cái vấn đề của cái đất nước Mỹ nó thấu tạo là cái quyền của mỗi cái tiểu bang với nhau và nó tập hợp lại thành một cái Trung Quốc. Thì Sam có muốn nói thêm?
Yeah, so thanks for that overview there. It's very, very good for us to put things in perspective there. In terms of the current election, I think most of us pay more attention to the statewide election, as well as the local city council race. Oftentimes, not as much as the county level at this time, because I don't know if there is a race for our supervisors.
Oh, yes.
I think it's supervisor District 1,
Yes.
District 3, and District 5. Is that the three races?
Yes.
Yes, for our county supervisors. And certainly we have incumbent in all of those seats. So that's the one to watch out for. For city council, we have the odd numbers, 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. So those are all of those have incumbents except District 9, which the Vice Mayor Pam Foley, District 9 City Council member, has termed out. It will be termed out by the end of December. So it's an open seat, and there would be that's the only uncontested. That's the only open seat. The other 4 seats are 1, 3, 5, and 7 are not, which they have incumbent, and we'll see how it goes.
Re-election.
Yeah,
And of those, they're all running.
they're all running back for re-election, and so particularly important for all of us in the state of California is the governor race. And let's talk a little more about that because when we talk about the requisite for participating in the election, you have to be 18 years or above, right?
Yes.
As a citizen of the United States, and that if you have not registered, I think you can register all the way into the last day, but you have to be at the county registrar office if late. If early, you can do that at the post office or local libraries or different locations there, and make sure that you submit them so that it reach the registrar's office by June the 2nd. So that means that I always vote at the last day, usually on the last day, because I want to make sure last minute I don't have any surprises. You know how it is. Sometimes you can have all the great information all the way to the last week, and there you come out something very drastic. And if you submit that absentee ballot, it's done. So I have a habit of always going directly to the registrar office on 1555 Burger Road and submit it right there on the election day, which is June the 2nd. Or the day before if you don't know for sure.
We should remind folks, though, we say voting age is 18. If they are 17 today, but will be 18 by June the 2nd, they can vote.
Right. That's important to pay attention to.
So 17-year-olds can vote as long as they are 18 on election day.
Right. And you must have been registered to vote. So like anh Hồng nói, if you don't see, or you mentioned that you don't see it in the mail, go straight to the registrar office and double check.
Yes.
Because your vote does matter, because as you mentioned, sometimes it's only a couple, 1 or 2 votes difference make a whole difference there. And
I didn't quite answer your question directly. Sorry if I went into
the June 2nd or the November 3rd or something.
California is electing its governor in November. In November. What could be confusing for people is that contrary to our founding fathers, political parties developed. There were no political parties in the days of George Washington, not when we first got started. They evolved. And what's happening on June the 2nd is that Californians are able to choose in their party who is going to be their party representative. Was the plan. Their party representative that will be voted on in November. Now, something that's just changed a couple elections ago was, and again, changed, was not necessarily ranked voting, but the idea is instead of one Democrat and one Republican, when states are very lopsided, considerably now more Democrats than Republicans. When I was growing up, it was the other way around, more Republicans than Democrats. To make things what they think of as more fair is to say the two top vote getters, regardless of party, now move on to be voted on in November. So that's a change for California.
And not necessarily two party, but even two top,
Yes.
two top people with the highest vote, they can go, right? It doesn't matter
Yes.
what party.
There are a number of Democrats who are very worried about that today.
Yeah.
Because when you get 8 or 9 or 10 Democrats and only 2
Only
Republicans,
Republican.
and if the Republicans are only getting 20,
have very high,
yes.
very high chance too. But the question is, for example, if one of the candidate, we have so many candidates, one of them they got more than 50%. Do they have to
50%?
go? How to more than 50% of vote?
Then they will.
Do they have to go to the second round? That means to the November, or they automatic they declare the winner?
Yeah, that's an excellent question.
I think it's that's the way they do it here.
Well, I know I'm going to have to check with the state of California. That's very interesting. For most organizations, however you get to 50% plus one, that's it. The election is done. I'm not sure that's true with the state of California for governor.
Well, the general understanding
Because there is
is
a general
that if you get 50 plus one, then you win the race, because that's not going to be a runoff. That's the general understanding. We can double check on especially the governor's race. However, I know that if it's local races like supervisor or state assembly or state senator, or also the city council, if you have 50 plus one, 50% plus one, then you win the race. For the governor, we know absolutely clear that no one is going to get 50 plus one or 50%, because the highest vote getters is only like 16% or 17%, something along that line, between 14 and 16% for the top two Republicans right now. I understand that there are about 62 names on the ballot for the governor's race, but they narrow down to see who's got the top votes right now, and they allow those people to get into the debates. And so if you see in the debates, you see only like several people, that is because they cannot allow the guys that have only like less than 1% or so to be able to be in the debate. So right now, the two top Republicans are Tom Steyer and Chad Bianco.
Tom Steyer is a Democrat.
He's a Democrat, right.
And Steve
Hilton and
Blanco.
And Bianco. Chad Bianco.
Yes.
So those are the two Republicans, right?
And on the top is
the top
is Democrat. The Xavier.
That's the Democrats. We have people that are known by names. Often our time is including Javier Becerra, Matt Mahan, who else? Katie Porter, Tom Steyer, and Antonio Villaraigosa, and I guess some of the other names there. So I don't know any other names that you recognize.
They're very low, low percent.
They are lower than 10%.
Even like Antonio, he's got about 2 or 3%.
Yeah, very low. Yeah,
they expected him to be stronger, but it's the good news and the bad news with our elections is that they take a long time. And so the good news is that it shakes things out. You discover something along the way.
But back to the governor race, is a very good chance. Two Republicans can be on the ballot, on the runoff. This should be the nightmare for Democrats. they hope, the Xavier and with the Republican Steele Hilton will be go to runoff and will be easy because all the other Democrats already out. So they concentrate to Xavier and he got a very good chance. But what if, the other one Republican on the top will be absolutely, we have Republican governor. It's a long time you can see in California.
That will give indigestion to a lot of Democrats.
Yeah.
Yes.
And California is very much a Democrat state, right? So that means that if you have one Democrat running against one Republican, then if you have like one Democrat and running against one Republican, then the bet really is on the Democrat because they have like much higher.
Generally, but there are exceptions. I mean,
yeah.
There are national candidates and statewide candidates that have been Republicans that still win in Democratic California.
Mm-hmm.
So
way back to about 50 years ago when I first come here, I saw only 2 times I saw Republican, right? Arnold and Wilson, right? Peter Wilson,
yes.
and Arnold.
Before he was Duke Magian.
Arnold Schwarzenegger ran against Davis.
Yeah, Arnold Schwarzenegger was
he ran against Davis.
Yes.
And he won because it was a tough time economically. And all kinds of issues.
Because of the I think reason he movie he is like the well known actor, so he play on movie and with the like Rambo and something, a very strong guy, so that people love it. They want to bring him to
Terminator. He wants
and reason he stick with his wife Kennedy, have the name Kennedy on it. Later on they divorced, but when they campaign, it's help him a lot.
Oh, he campaigned with her extensively. Yes,
yeah.
There's a lot of jokes that he himself shared about becoming part of the Kennedy family.
Yes, yes. Any comments on the local races, like the supervisor race and the
with your permission,
city council?
Let's invite some of the candidates to be able to have them a chance to talk themselves. And I think I think you'll find it stimulating, to say the least.
Yeah, I don't know if we have enough time for that because we already into May, and if we talk to one of them, we have to talk to the others. We cannot just not talk to everyone in the competition, to be fair.
But I think the most
probably more focus when it comes to the general election.
But I think the more important rate the people watching is the governor rate.
Yes.
Yeah, because of the mayor of San Jose, he will be one of the candidates. But I saw, he have very less chance to be because right now, he come out very late.
Yeah, but he's picked up a lot of momentum. So we, at this point, we don't know for sure at all, right? So it's
he's now
probably
7%.
Yeah, it's been steady in terms of
he's steady
numbers.
But watching.
In terms of the election cycle, I mean, the campaign, the last, it's up to the last day almost because 4 weeks is a long time in the race.
Well, I think one of your early comments, if you don't mind me saying so, Sam, is still a reality in today's politics. Is suddenly something comes out in the news about something, and the whole campaign can change.
Well, for example, I mean, we saw that.
We're not going to mention anybody's name in particular.
We saw that particular name that is a congressman, right?
Yes.
And just the news came out, and it's enough to knock him out. Not only the race, but also the office that he's sitting in.
And you look at the musical chairs,
and that has
because
boost up others.
His office, which meant other people who are in office would like that office, and we've got local people who want to fill that spot. So all of that is going on.
Yeah, it shuffles up the whole thing.
Yes.
Yeah. So that is something we should pay
But
attention
there is
to.
some momentum. So
Yeah.
The other difficulty is the wise thing for the party, either party, would be to have candidates drop out between now and the election, which is difficult.
Not
for them
likely.
to do.
Yeah.
It did happen with Betty Yee, as an example. She did drop out, and others could, but their names are still in.
Yeah. Let's do it.
So
Yeah,
that
exactly.
as we get closer to the election, that's less
Betty
likely.
Betty Yee is still dropped. The name is still there.
That's right.
And you know, one the former congressman, he quit because
Eric.
of the social.
Eric Swallow.
Still the name. That's make it very very tough, you know.
Causes confusion.
Confusion. Ok, chắc tóm tắt.
So that's great. So anh có thể nói vài lời tóm tắt tiếng Việt.
Nãy giờ đó thì chúng tôi cũng có nói chuyện sơ về cái vấn đề trở lại hồi nãy tôi có nói là ông nói về cái vấn đề mà cái basic, những cái quyền của cái người đi bầu với lại cái dân chủ ở trên nước Mỹ. Mà cái câu hỏi tôi đó là về vấn đề vì sao mà mình có hai cái cuộc bầu cử, một cái sơ bộ vào tháng 6, 2 đến 6 và một cái vào tổng kết là vào tháng 11, tháng 11 tới này. Thì trở lại đó là anh như chúng ta biết Sam cũng có tóm tắt lại đó là giờ trong cái bầu cử địa phương của chúng ta đó thì chúng ta có bầu cử của thứ nhất là của bên thành phố, của county và của bên state, tức là bên tiểu bang. Thì về cái county đó thì cũng sẽ bầu lại là cái đơn vị 1, 3 với lại 5 không?
13579.
13 không của
1357. County là 135.
135 thôi. Rồi cái bên thành phố thì chúng ta sẽ bầu lại những cái số lẻ, tức là 13579. Tuy nhiên theo anh Sam nói là cái bà mà ở đơn vị số 9 đó, thì bà là cái thơm mà hết rồi. Thành ra do đó mà chỉ có 4 cái đơn vị đi bầu thì những cái người nó cái incumbent, tức là những người đã từng làm, đấy vì anh Biên Đoàn đã làm việc trước và giờ anh ra nữa đó, thì những cái người đó đều ra trở lại hết, chỉ trừ cái bà đơn vị chính thì bà cái thơm của bà 2 nhiệm kỳ bà làm xong rồi thì bà phải ngưng, do đó vẫn là cái người mới cho bầu mới tên. Đó là cái cuộc bầu của bên cái của đơn vị là của bên thành phố. Rồi trở lại cái bầu mà quan trọng nhất mà chúng tôi nãy giờ đề cập đó là cái bầu cử của bên tiểu bang. Thì như chúng ta đã biết cái ông thị trưởng mình á, thì ông cũng ra tranh cử của thống đốc của tiểu bang, thì ông gia nhập vô với lại hiện giờ là có 2 ứng cử viên của Cộng hòa, và hiện giờ có khoảng kỳ rồi tôi thấy là 5 ứng cử viên của bên dân chủ. Nhưng mà dĩ nhiên đó là trong cái luật bầu cử, những người nào mà có quá ít phiếu có khoảng 1% hay nửa phần trăm là họ loại rồi. Bây giờ những người còn lại thì bây giờ chúng tôi biết là ông thị trưởng của thành phố mình á, vì ông ra rất chậm, và nhất là cái vấn đề nó bầu cử này nó thuộc về của cái tiểu bang nó rất lớn á, thì hiện giờ theo tôi biết là cái thống kê có thể ông chỉ có khoảng được là 7 hay 8%, nhưng mà cái số của ông là từ đó giờ nó từ từ nó gen lên, nó tăng thêm. Trong đó dẫn đầu về phía dân chủ thì có cái ông Xavier, ông là hồi xưa ông là cái bộ trưởng tư pháp từ AG của bên tiểu bang này, rồi có một thời đó thì ông Biden thì ông làm bộ trưởng mà về bên y tế vậy. Thì bây giờ đó ông là đứng đầu của dân chủ khoảng 17-18%. Đồng thời đứng đầu nữa là của bên Cộng hòa đó là có cái ông Steve Hilton đó, thì ông này đã được ông tổng thống Trump ông adopt cho ông cũng được khoảng 17-18%. Kế đến là cái ông là sheriff của cái vùng Riverside, ông tên là ông Priyanko, ông Chad Priyanko. Đó, ông cũng được cái đó. Thì bây giờ nãy giờ chúng tôi còn muốn nói đó là cái vấn đề mà cái tốt nhất nếu mà người dân chủ mới kỳ tới này đó, thì một ông dân chủ và ông cộng hòa vô thì cái trend của người dân chủ rất là cao, tại vì lúc đó sẽ không còn cái tháng 11 đó, sẽ không còn những cái người dân chủ khác ra tranh, không chia phiếu. Trái lại đó cũng có thể có một cái trường hợp đặt ra, đó là hai cái người Cộng hòa vô, trong đó là cái ông Chad Branco vô lại cái ông Steve Hilton đó, thì là chắc chắn là như vậy sẽ có một cái người thống đốc người Cộng hòa. Cái chuyện này nó rất là lâu chúng ta đã không có được cái vị thống đốc của Cộng hòa, mà từ hồi đó giờ tôi nghĩ là khi mà tôi qua Mỹ đó là chỉ có hai ông thống đốc Cộng hòa, đó là cái ông Peter Wilson với lại cái ông Arnold Schwarzenegger, là ông là Cộng hòa thôi, còn ngoài ra không gọi là. Thì chúng ta chờ xem trong cái cuộc bầu cử kỳ tới này thì hãy trả lời cái câu hỏi của tôi hỏi ông đó, ông King đến King á, thì cái cuộc bầu cử ngày 2 tháng 6 này là cuộc bầu cử sơ bộ, để mà nếu không có người nào đạt được chút số á, thì sẽ qua cái vòng chung kết. Thì hồi nãy ông King ông cũng có nhắc lại là cái luật mới của bên về bầu cử của tiểu bang mình đó, ngày xưa đó là phải là một ứng cử viên dân chủ, một cái Cộng hòa sẽ tranh với nhau vào cái vòng tháng 11 này. Tuy nhiên bây giờ luật nó thay đổi, chỉ cần hai người bất kể là cái đảng phái nào, một cái số cao nhất sẽ được vào cái vòng của tháng 11, tức là cái vòng chung kết. Okay.
Anything else?
Well, I had the pleasure a couple of weeks ago at the California Hispanic Chambers of Commerce, which was our public policy conference, to meet most of the candidates for governor. They were able to make their presentations to the group and then spend some time talking to those of us that were interested in having a conversation. And I came away impressed. As a group, they tend to be very articulate and very sharp. Our mayor did a very good job. He's a very solid communicator. He certainly has a challenge in terms of being a moderate, and moderates, even passionate moderates, can get drowned out with the sound of others in primaries. But he's got a very solid message, and it's based on his local experience to see the relevance to the rest of the community. So the elections are going to have a profound impact regardless of who gets chosen.
Okay, let us make sure that we participate in the election. When you vote, make sure you sign your signature the same way it was signed when you register to vote. So make sure you sign and date that envelope when you before you submit it.
It's important for all of us to understand what you want done. That's the beauty and the challenge of democracy.
Để tóm lại thì ông Sam như ông Kim nói là cái lá phiếu mình rất quan trọng, chúng ta phải rất cẩn thận khi chúng ta bầu phiếu. Anh Sam có nhắc là mình phải ký tên này đúng với lại cái tên của mình ở trên cái lá phiếu đó. Riêng phần tôi cũng nhắc lại đó là lấy ví dụ trong một gia đình là hai người vợ chồng, thì mình đi cầm cái lá phiếu đó mình bỏ giùm người vợ mình, thì make sure là mình phải ký phía trên người đó, người vợ ký tên là giao ủy quyền cho mình bỏ vô trong lá phiếu đó. Thì đây là một cái cuộc bầu cử là như hồi nãy ông Kiên ông nói đó, là cái vấn đề quan trọng nhất là cái vấn đề mỗi người có một cái quyền của mình, là cái quyền hiến định, là để bầu cử để chọn được những cái issue, những cái người nào mà xứng đáng để mình muốn bầu vô. Đó là cái sức mạnh cộng đồng. Chúng ta hãy cố gắng thể hiện bằng cách chúng ta cùng nhau tham gia cái bầu cử vào ngày 2 tháng 6 này, thưa quý vị.
Yeah, thank you very much and happy Mother's Day to everyone.
Okay, Mother.
Thank you.